This video is brought to you by Native.
Who has my pig?
If you haven't seen this movie, go out and see it because it's great, and I'm going to be spoiling pretty much all of it. We're talking about a movie named Pig, starring Nicolas Cage. This is such a random Nicolas Cage masterpiece. It was directed and co-written by Michael Sarnowski, and this was his directorial debut. He has edited a couple of TV series before, but damn, I am very impressed. Yeah, I love this movie. I think it's cool that Nicolas Cage is trusting all of these random directors to make great movies. It's not like he's Bruce Willis, he's not phoning it in or anything. Nicolas Cage acts his ass off in these random movies. After watching it, I was very happy to see that across the board, this movie has been getting a lot of very good ratings. Set in Oregon, this revenge thriller is about death, loss, and the restaurant industry. I think one of the underlying themes of this movie is trying to highlight the pretentious nature of man. After seeing the trailer, I was expecting some action in this movie. I was expecting Nick to get in some fights or do something, but he doesn't really. He gets his ass beat in one scene, but this really isn't an action movie. If you're into strange expressions of lost love and sadness and long drawn out monologues, this is definitely the movie for you. Sarnowski decided to separate this movie into parts, and each part is named after a specific dish. And since this movie is centered around a chef, I thought that was a pretty cool touch. Most of this movie has a very dark tone to it. The color grading was done in such a way to give it this like dismal look. I can see how some people might be put off by the depressing and dreary nature of this movie, but I think that was the point. They want to put you inside of Nicolas Cage's mindset. Long story short, a man's truffle hunting pig gets stolen from their home in the forest, and he goes out to find it.
Who has my pig?
Part 1 is called Rustic Mushroom Tart. The movie opens with Nick Cage, who is named Robin Feld. Robin lives in the middle of the woods in a little cabin, and his only companion is his pet pig. I really do think Michael Sarnowski nailed the depressing tone, and the way he frames every shot is so well done. Some parts of this film kind of border on pretentiousness, but I think that was done on purpose. Even down to the font used for the titles is the same font that you might see on a menu at a very high-end restaurant. Robin has long, unkempt hair and a beard, which tells us that he's been living in the forest for quite some time. I think Patrick Scola did a great job with the cinematography in this movie. The forest is misty and the sun is peeking through the trees, but you can tell that most of the time it's probably dark here, kind of foreshadowing a lot of the sadness that you'll see later in the movie. It's kind of relaxing in its delivery, but also slightly haunting. Nicolas Cage definitely looks like he could use a shower or probably a bath. He looks stinky.
Yeah, I did kind of stink in this movie. If only I had some Native deodorant.
Native deodorant? Wow. Native makes amazing paraben-free and aluminum-free deodorant. I think my 3 favorite scents are lavender and rose, eucalyptus and mint, and citrus and herbal musk. I like to smell musky.
Kind of smells like my dad.
I really like the texture of these deodorants. They're not sticky and they dry quickly.
You
don't get a pit shot.
And they're great for when you're on the go. Their deodorant is vegan and cruelty-free, which is very important to me. They're filled with familiar and simple ingredients. Native will keep you feeling fresh all day, even after exercising. They also offer a plastic-free version of their deodorant, which use the same formula, but with more sustainable packaging. They also have amazing body washes and toothpaste, and last year they donated over $2 million worth of products to Hope and Comfort, a non-profit organization to help deliver health and confidence to those in need. Their deodorants go on really smooth. They smell amazing. They make you smell fresh and clean all day long. And you can use them every day, guilt-free. Make sure to check out Native's new limited edition Coffee House collection. 3 deodorants for normally $36, but if you use my link and code Elvis, you will get them for $24. That's 33% off. With my code, you can also get 20% off any body wash or toothpaste.
So fresh and so clean. Native.
Robin Feld is seen washing a pan off at the stream. He goes truffle hunting with his pig, taking a knife full of dirt and putting it in his mouth. What are you gonna eat next? A cockroach? Oh wait, you already did that.
Probably some bacon.
It's stated later in the movie that Robin doesn't really need a truffle pig. He can locate them himself. He's learned how to do it over the years, but he keeps the pig around for company. It's still kind of weird though. Like if you have a truffle pig, you might as well just use it. It's kind of gross eating dirt. Next, we see Robin making a pie with his faithful pig watching. He goes out and cooks some mushrooms on the fire. The next morning, we meet young, flashy Amir, played by Alex Wolff. He pulls up in a yellow Camaro. It completely offsets like the nature vibe. He's blasting music. and he's decked out in a nice suit and nice sunglasses. He tries to convince Rob to take a shower or to take a phone from him, but neither work. It's pretty funny, Amir's trying to talk to him, but Rob's not saying anything back. He just walks into his house and closes the door on his face.
Good talk, Rob. See you next Thursday, asshole.
Amir grabs the cooler of truffles and drops a cooler of groceries in exchange. In this movie, Nicolas Cage is not a man of many words. In Pig, he starts out kind of like he does in Willy's Wonderland, but later on in Pig, he starts talking. We can kind of sense that over time, he's kind of lost touch with other people. In the next scene, we see Rob reluctant to play a tape recording of a woman. Safe to assume this was his wife before she passed. We can sense that this is very painful for him. This is the first glimpse we get of his loss. Late at night, Rob notices some flashlights outside, so he approaches the door and some men burst into his home. They forcefully steal the pig and knock out Rob. You can hear the pig screaming throughout this entire scene. The next morning, we see Rob on the floor. He then sits up and we watch as he tries to control his breathing. Rob then puts some gas into his truck that has been sitting there for years probably. You can tell by the sounds that it's making that this truck is on its last legs. He drives it for a short period until it breaks down. He takes a long walk to a diner that he hasn't been to in a very long time. He's kind of just standing there awkwardly looking around the place until the server asks if she can help him. And you can tell that Rob is trying to muster the will to use his voice again because he hasn't used it in so long.
Is Marge here?
The server tells him that Marge died 10 years ago, so that gives us a good idea how long it's been.
It's been 84 years.
He then calls Amir, who comes to pick him up. Rob simply tells Amir, "If you want your supply, I need my pig." So they drive to a truffle farm, where they meet a no-nonsense truffle farmer. While Amir is driving Rob to the truffle farm, Amir's listening to this like extremely pretentious musician's audio log that's talking about how classical music is the best form of music. Even the person speaking has this like super pretentious tone.
Therefore, where classical music proves superior to all other forms,
You can tell Rob is kind of disgusted by this, so he turns the radio off. So Amir turns the radio back on, and Rob instantly turns it back off. It's like subtle comedy, but it's really effective. So Rob tells this woman that someone stole his truffle pig. She's in the same business as them, so she sees this as like a monkey wrench within their operation. The woman has an idea of who done it, so they go to their place, and there's these two people there. We find out that these are the people that stole the pig, and they were paid to do so by some rich guy. The girl thief talks to the guy thief, and she's like, "Yeah, what kind of car was he driving?" And the guy goes, "Black."
Black.
Waxy.
It was waxy.
Rob thinks he might know some people in Portland that might point him in the right direction, so he has Amir drive him there. Robin asks Amir for some money so he can buy some food and put together a plate for a man named Edgar in order to get some information. Basically, there's an underground network of chefs, sous chefs, restaurant owners, and food and equipment suppliers operating in and around Portland. This secret society appears to have a code, a history, and secrets. Rob was once a legendary part of it until he dropped out for unknown reasons. I gotta hand it to Sarnowski for making Rob such a compelling character. He's full of mystery and tenderness, hints of repressed despair and rage. He doesn't talk much at first, but grows more verbose as the story unfolds, probably as a result of Rob re-entering society and being forced to use communication skills he'd been keeping in storage. When the film moves to the city, the urban landscapes are as oppressive as the forest was comforting. It's almost as if the message that they're trying to get across is, the more people there are, the worse things become. Pairing Rob and Amir throughout the movie rather than staying with Rob the whole time turns out to be the film's masterstroke. Amir is as compelling a character as Rob. Even though he lacks the elder man's ruined grandeur, he's a self-aware mediocrity who would be less depressed if he were dumber and couldn't see his own shortcomings. Amir thinks he is owed more than he has, but isn't sure why he feels that way, and is not inclined to investigate or question that feeling. His truffle resale business in Portland is part of a strategy of wealth chasing and self-improvement. His habit of obsessively listening to classical music and music education tapes confirms that this is a person who feels that he has no class and is trying to acquire some via shortcuts.
You like this car? You like that shirt?
They become a classic comedy team. Rob, the grizzled old prospector, next to Amir, the urban neurotic, both looking for a pig in a city. Just the concept alone is funny. Then we're shown this scene, where Amir has had enough of Rob's shit. You can tell that he's definitely not a very nice person to be around. He's very short with people, he has zero patience for anything, and quite frankly, his communication skills suck. So Amir goes off on him and tells him he's some homeless weirdo that probably fucks his pig. Rob retorts by saying,
I don't fuck my pig.
At midnight, they go to the Hidden Hotel Portland, where the more weight your name carries, the higher the bids. Rob writes his name on the wall, Robin Feld, and does a dramatic turnaround while people begin to bid on him. People bet how long they think a certain person will last getting their ass beaten. Robin, feeling guilty about the loss of his pig, is probably feeling fine about getting his ass beat. After lasting a very long time, Edgar gives him an address, and Amir takes him home. Part 2 is named Mum's French Toast and Deconstructed Scallops. We get a scene where Amir shares his own story of the loss of his mother over a plate of French toast. I should also mention that Nicolas Cage is a massive doomer in this movie. He talks about how the world is ending and there's nothing we can do, so what's the point? Kind of a pessimist, aren't you, Nick? Jesus. In the next scene, we see Amir in front of the bathroom mirror, rehearsing his pitch.
Where am I? Oh, Christ, where am I?
And for the first time, we get the sense that all might not be well between him and his father. We can tell throughout the movie that Amir is the type of person that doesn't demand a lot of respect, but he desperately wants to be that person. While Amir secures a reservation at Eurydice,
Come on!
Rob visits what might have been his former house. Strangely, Robin goes to the backyard and meets a boy playing a ham pan.
Wanna try it?
He sits next to him and asks him about a persimmon tree, educating him about tannins. While we normally see Rob with a very apathetic attitude towards other people, when greeted with the innocence of childhood, we get to see some of Rob's tenderness show. It is kind of strange that this child was left all alone, and Rob was able to just walk right up to him and sit next to him, and there wasn't a single parent in sight. Where are this kid's parents? Why is he just sitting there all alone? That's weird. I get why there weren't parents around. They needed the kid to be alone with Rob in the scene to make it more impactful. But yeah, I was like, what kind of parents just leave their kids unattended? Then again, it was in their own backyard, so I guess Rob is just the weirdo that entered somebody else's home. In the next scene, Amir and Rob are at Eurydice. Something I love a lot about this movie is that it's centered around a chef who was once well renowned for his cooking, but he's sick of all the bullshit, especially when it comes to uppity high-end restaurants. They're extremely pretentious, and the starting course that they have at this restaurant is hilarious. It's the most pretentious thing I've ever seen.
Today's journey begins by uniting the depths of the sea with the riches of our forests.
Emulsified locally sourced scallops encased in a flash frozen seafood roe blend on a bed of foraged huckleberry foam, all bathed in the smoke from Douglas fir cones. Rob reaches over, grabs them with his hand, plops it in his mouth, and immediately asks for the chef. It's such a good scene.
I'd like to speak to the chef.
It's made even better that he looks so unfit to eat here right now. His face is all battered and bloody, and his hair is all stringy and really greasy from not bathing. You can tell that he's probably smelling up the place, but he just doesn't give a shit. I just found out that I've been pronouncing the name of the restaurant wrong because it has a very pretentious name. It's Eurydice. Very fancy. The head chef that works at this high-end restaurant was a prep cook for Robin a long time ago. Rob says that he fired him because he always overcooked the noodles. And then this guy starts laughing nervously like, oh shit. It's so funny too because he's like, do you need medical attention? Because obviously he looks like shit.
I'm sorry, do you need medical attention?
No. Thank you.
Rob asks this guy where the pig is because he has reason to believe that this guy knows. And the chef basically says that he can't tell him because truffles are a very important part of the winter menu. We get to see that this is a man who comes face to face with his unrealized dreams. This has got to be one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, where Robin slowly breaks down this man, who's clearly very successful, but what he wanted to achieve in life he never got to. Robin asks him why he never opened the pub that he wanted to open, forcing this man to realize that he chased status and money over what really makes him happy. Just watch what Robin Feld says to this guy who highly respects him.
Why do you care about these people? They don't care about you. None of them. They don't even know you. You live your life for them, and they don't even see you.
You can imagine what kind of impact that would have on him. Rob finally finds out who had his pig stolen. We discover that it was Amir's father. Rob feels like Amir betrayed him and gave his father the location of the pig. Amir swears to him that he had nothing to do with it. So Rob starts kicking Amir's Camaro, which is basically directly damaging Amir's ego. And Amir starts freaking out.
Stop! What the fuck? The Camaro! The Camaro! Stop!
Rob demands the address and Amir gives it to him. Rob wants nothing to do with Amir, so he leaves him there. He finds a bike that's sitting next to a home and he steals it. And when the bike's owner approaches him, Rob just screams at him. It's so good. Then there's a scene of Amir at a hospice center, standing outside the room where his mother is. She's in a vegetative state and hooked up to a machine. And it's pretty clear that his mom has been hooked up to this machine for a long time, and his father just refuses to let go of her. Rob finds his way to Amir's father's home, and he meets with Darius, who is Amir's father. Darius talks about how Amir is biting off more than he can chew, and Rob just responds by saying, "I don't care. Where's my pig?" Darius then says, "I'll give you 15K.
No.
20K.
No.
20 million. He then threatens to kill the pig if he sees Rob again. Outside, Amir is waiting for Rob, and of course he apologizes. Rob admits that he wants his pig back, not because of truffles, but because he loves it.
I don't fuck my pig.
And he has a grand plan. He will get his pig back by doing the one thing he does best: cooking. Rob writes a list and permits Amir to use his name to get the things on the list. Rob then travels to the place where his restaurant once stood. What's there now is a bakery. We get a glimpse of what he lost and why he might have given it all up. Rob and Darius are two men who lost their partners and are coping in different ways. After gathering everything on the list, Rob and Amir cook in Darius's home. Darius is unaware that they're doing this, of course. Rob cooks a meal that reminds Darius of his wife, and he cooks it perfectly. Darius eats the food and is reduced to tears. In his food-induced state, he confesses that the pig is dead, and that he'd been manhandled by the people who stole him, which sends Rob into mourning.
She died.
Nicolas Cage's acting is perfect in this scene. Throughout the movie, he's so uptight and he's just looking and looking, searching for this pig, this one last thing that meant something to him. And once he finds out that it's gone, he has nothing left, so he just collapses. I don't know why he didn't just tell him that the pig was killed immediately and then offer him money. That would have saved him a lot of time. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to save him the grief? Who knows? The day is dark, and Rob and Amir return to the diner. Amir orders brownies. They both agree to continue working together. Rob walks home while Amir has a moment in his car. Rob returns home and plays the tape of Lori singing. Up until this point, Rob was unable to listen to this tape because the pain of his wife passing was too much for him. At the end of the movie, he gathers the courage to play the tape. The movie ends with Rob looking up at light that's creeping through his roof. This is him beginning to accept the loss of his wife and the start of his healing process. So yeah, that's Pig, a very depressing movie. But I also think it's one of Nicolas Cage's best. I gotta say, bravo Michael Sarnowski and everybody involved with this film, because I loved it. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate it, especially if you made it this far. Normally my videos gushing about a movie don't do very well as far as views, but I think this movie is very special. So yeah, that's it. That's my review. This is definitely not a feel-good movie, but it's definitely a heartfelt movie. I love the acting, I love the themes, I love how Wolf and Cage play off each other. The dynamic between their characters is really fun, and yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my patrons that make videos like this possible. Oh, and Nick, I should also mention that your pig isn't dead. Yeah, I found it.
Can somebody tell Nicolas Cage that I found his pig?
Hi, kitty.
So yeah, Nick, no need to cry anymore, bro. Pig found and secured. Nice. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
That's not my pig.